Yes, because
All
last
right?
year in an interview with Nigel Clark, former finance minister, on his last day as finance minister, I'd asked him
Uh-huh.
about the SSL case, and
Yes.
this is what he said. Let's listen in.
What I've not been satisfied with is the pace at which that has moved. Yeah, that and the people of Jamaica don't differentiate. I am the person in the public light. I'm in the public domain, but I'm not responsible for all parts of the process. We have investigators, we have police, we have a DPP, we have courts, and all of those are independent authorities that I can't instruct. And I'm just, I'm not, this is not a criticism, but this is just my heart. I have one opportunity now just to pour out my heart. And I feel hurt and disappointed, that I've, put that effort in, taken major risk, right, in getting forensic auditors from the United Kingdom to do a massive investigation. That file has been put to the DPP from late 2023. And nothing else kind of come of it. And people are looking and wondering, hey, what's going on? I've done my part.
And of course, that was former Finance Minister Nigel Clark speaking to me on all angles. And of course, from time to time, we see Usain Bolt tweet some of his characteristic trademark cryptic tweets with things like, for instance, the amount of money that was defrauded from him and, expressing impatience with the pace of the negotiation. I see my colleague and friend at the Gleaner, Jovan Johnson, got to you first on this DPP. So bad minding him a little bit, but I'm still gonna be asking you in terms of what's happening there.
Well, first of all, having listened to what Mr. Clark had to say, it's just so unfortunate that he didn't avail himself of speaking to us directly to find out exactly our side of it. Because I don't know who he got his information from. But we are aware as a DPP's office that perhaps due to an excess of enthusiasm or youthful exuberance, some of the investigators perhaps may have had some element of amnesia when they have been advising members of the public or even Mr. Clark as to what has been happening. In terms of the update that I received, there was a letter dated October 23rd, 2024 from my office. And remember, our SSL task force is headed by a deputy DPP who is in charge of our mutual legal assistance and financial crimes unit. You have 4 lawyers. It is an extremely voluminous exercise, and we sent a letter indicating all of the matters that were outstanding, that were required. It seems, and I'm going to say it quite clearly here, that there are some investigators or some persons there who thought that by waving a magic wand and just speaking it into being, they thought they had enough so that they could go before the court. But since we are the ones who are saddled with prosecuting cases of this nature to the requisite standing of beyond a reasonable doubt, and we are not into this thing to get a sound bite, we have to make sure, especially in a complex matter like this, that we have adequate information. And what I was informed now, I'm looking at it, by letter dated December 30th from the FIB, they answered the 12 points that we had sent to them about an update on the status of the 12 outstanding materials. Now, there is one that is absolutely critical. And what I've been made to understand, because I decided to drill down so that I'd be in the best position to respond to you, that we have been made aware that the investigators have had to go through hundreds of boxes of material from SSL to find the particular documentation. That is critical. We at the Office of the DPP have already prepared, well, my team has prepared a draft legal opinion with some 40 pages waiting for my sign off, but they know how detailed and thorough I am. And they are also detailed and thorough. So there is a yawning gap, legally speaking, in the opinion that can only be covered by getting the critical documentation and report from the SID. And that is what we are waiting on. When they get that, then they will be able to properly complete the legal opinion of some 40 of the DPP, have already prepared. I was informed now, I'm looking at it, by letter dated December 30th from the SID. They answered the 12 points that we had sent to them about an update on the status of the 12 outstanding materials. Now, there is one that is absolutely critical. And what I've been made to understand, because I decided to drill down so that I'd be in the best position to respond to you, that we have been made aware that the investigators have had to go through hundreds of boxes of material from SSL to find the particular documentation. That is critical. We at the Office of the DPP have already prepared, well, my team has prepared a draft legal opinion with some 40 pages waiting for my sign-off. But they know how detailed and thorough I am. And they are also detailed and thorough. So there is a yawning gap, legally speaking, in the opinion that can only be covered by getting the critical documentation and report from the SID. And that is what we are waiting on. When they get that, then they will be able to properly complete the legal opinion of some 40 odd pages. They give it to me, and I can undertake that, having spent 40 years as a prosecutor and 16 as DPP, it's a question of case consultation. The five of us sit down, we go through everything, and hopefully overnight, by the next day, then a ruling will be had. But we will not die on the altar of expediency in order to give others a soundbite. We must be thorough. We answer to the public interest. And this is a complex matter. In fact, my deputy told me, and I said she's in charge of mutual legal assistance and financial crimes for the office, that they went ahead and did some research in the USA in terms of matters of a similar nature. And they found that the average in some areas is 5 years from the time the offense is committed to the time that it goes to court, given the level of thoroughness that is required. There are for breach of any of the environmental legislation will be taken over and prosecuted by a senior officer of the Office of the DPP.
All right. Let me move on to something else, because last year in an interview with Nigel Clark, former finance minister, on his last day as finance minister, I'd asked him about the SSL case, and this is what he said. Let's listen in.
What I've not been satisfied with is the pace at which that has moved. Yeah, that, and you know, the people of Jamaica don't differentiate. I am the person in the public light. I'm in the public domain, but I'm not responsible for all parts of the process. We have investigators, we have police, we have a DPP, we have courts, and all of those are independent authorities that I can't instruct. And I'm just I'm not, this is not a criticism, but this is just my heart. I have one opportunity now just to pour out my heart, and I feel hurt and disappointed, that I've, put that effort in, taken major risk, right, in getting forensic auditors from the United Kingdom to do a massive investigation. That file has been put to the DPP from late 2023, and nothing has kind of come of it. And people are looking and wondering, hey, what's going on? I've done my part.
And of course, that was former Finance Minister Nigel Clark speaking to me on all angles. And of course, from time to time, we see Usain Bolt tweet some of his characteristic trademark cryptic tweets with things like, for instance, the amount of money that was defrauded from him, and expressing impatience with the pace of the negotiation. I see my colleague and friend at the Gleaner, Jovan Johnson, got to you first on this DPP. So I'm bad minding him a little bit, but I'm still gonna be asking you in terms of what's happening there.
Well, first of all, having listened to what Mr. Clark had to say, it's just so unfortunate that he didn't avail himself of speaking to us directly to find out exactly our side of it. Because I don't know who he got his information from, but we are aware as a DPP's office that perhaps due to an excess of enthusiasm or youthful exuberance, some of the investigators perhaps may have had some element of amnesia when they have been advising members of the public or even Mr. Clark as to what has been happening. In terms of the update that I received, there was a letter dated October 23rd, 2024 from my office. And remember, our SSL task force is headed by a deputy DPP who is in charge of our mutual legal assistance and financial crimes unit. You have 4 lawyers. It is an extremely voluminous exercise, and we sent a letter indicating all of the matters that were outstanding, that were required. It seems, and I'm going to say it quite clearly here, that there are some investigators or some persons there who thought that by waving a magic wand and just speaking it into being, they thought they had enough so that they could go before the court. But since we are the ones who are saddled with prosecuting cases of this nature to the requisite standard of beyond a reasonable doubt, and we are not into this thing to get a sound bite, we have to make sure, especially in a complex matter like this, that we have adequate information. And what I was informed now, I'm looking at it, by a letter dated December 30th from the FID, they answered the 12 points that we had sent to them about an update on the status of the 12 outstanding materials. Now, there is one that is absolutely critical. And what I've been made to understand, because I decided to drill down so that I'd be in the best position to respond to you, that we have been made aware that the investigators have had to go through hundreds of boxes of material from SSL.
Somebody.
Documentation that is critical. We at the Office of the DPP have already prepared, well, my team has prepared a draft legal opinion with some 40 pages waiting for my sign-off. But they know how detailed and thorough I am. And they are also detailed and thorough. So there is a yawning gap, legally speaking, in the opinion that can only be covered by getting the critical documentation and report from the FID. And that is what we are waiting on. When they get that, then they will be able to properly complete the legal opinion of some 40 odd pages. They give it to me, And I can undertake that having spent 40 years as a prosecutor and 16 as DPP, it's a question of case consultation. The five of us sit down, we go through everything, and hopefully overnight, by the next day, then a ruling will be had. But we will not die on the altar of expediency in order to give others a soundbite. We must be thorough. We answer to the public interest. And this is a complex matter. In fact, my deputy told me, and I said she's in charge of mutual legal assistance and financial crimes for the office, that they went ahead and did some research in the USA in terms of matters of a similar nature. And they found that the average in some areas is 5 years from the time the offense is committed to the time that it goes to court, given the level of thoroughness that is required.
Good evening, and welcome. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the ways of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law do we meditate day and night. For we shall be like trees planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth our fruit in our season. Our leaf shall not wither, and whatsoever we do shall prosper. Welcome to the Colin Bell Show for yet another Tuesday evening. I want to apologize to the people over there at Caribbean Radio. For some reason, we're not connecting. You know, the engineers are working on that, but we are here with you on YouTube. Yeah, man, and we are on Facebook. Granny Nanny at Facebook. We are on YouTube. And let me get this on Colin Anthony. Colin Anthony at Facebook as well. Because I want somebody to call this brother our name George Davis. Yeah, you know this brother our name George Davis? I want to call him for me. Because I hear him made some pronouncements earlier this week. I think was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Made some pronouncement about P.J. Patterson being the most murderous prime minister in Jamaica. What he was basically saying is that more people died when P.J. Patterson was prime minister than any other prime minister in Jamaica. George Davis, that's a lie from the pit of hell. And we are going to put the numbers forward this evening. My name is Colin Bell, your host, and we'll be with you up until 7 o'clock. Share the link, call somebody. At 5:30, we're going to be talking to Dr. Kenneth Russell. He's the MP candidate for Southeast St. Ann and the Deputy Shadow Minister on Education. We're going to be talking to him at about 5:30. But before we get there, I hear Darrell Vaz in our area council. And he said this election will be a battle for the truth. There can't be any battle for the truth, Mr. Vaz. One truth. And we also know that the Labour Party and the truth have no lot in our part. Labour Party not talk truth. But as a broadcaster this evening, somebody called Damian Crawford for me. Because Damian Crawford need to hear this. I'm going to make it clear. Damian Crawford is my friend. Also wanted to call Orlando Turlang. Because somebody needs to apologize to the people of Jamaica. Somebody told a lie to the people of Jamaica. Now, who tell the lie? Who mislead the Parliament of Jamaica? Somebody mislead the Parliament, Lensworth. Somebody lie to the people of Jamaica. On my screen, I have a picture of Damian Crawford and Orlando Turlang. I'm going to play a clip from Orlando Turlang first, make on a year. Listen this. Hold on, let me talk to Caribbean Radio. Yeah, brother Gary. Yo, I'm send you a link. I'm send you a link, and if you can connect it, we're supposed to can get on. Yeah, I'll send you that link there. Ustream. Yeah, text me the email. Yeah, man, it's supposed to can go up. Can you just join me and me send it up? Yeah. All right. So, call up Orlando Turlang. Call up Damian Crawford. Because somebody tell the people a lie. And you have to apologize.
You know, Mr. Speaker, in the 1960s, a great visionary, and I heard my colleague mention his name. A great visionary, the most honorable Edward George Phillips Siaga had a vision of creating Portmore in the 1960s. Mr. Speaker, that vision was scoffed at by the very opposition that is now scoffing at the vision of Portmore becoming the 15th parish. And it is hypocritical, Mr. Speaker.
Hold on now. So you hear this man, right? You hear him. And then, after him said that, Damian Crawford said this.
To indeed what can go so. I tell Mr. President to no less of a source than the Jamaica Library Service.
We can trust the Jamaica Library Service.
They may fire them after this or carry them to court.
Without prejudice.
Yes.
This is with prejudice. Mr. President, the Jamaica Library Service indicates that a company was formed called the Portmore Land Development Company. They purchased the property from...
Hold on. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Caymanas Estate with the intention to establish housing development. In the 1950s, Kingston ran out of flat space for development. So housing development in Portmore was seen as a response to the great outcry for housing. The article goes on to say, before development began, a dike had to be constructed to contain Rio Cobre, and a causeway had to be built to connect Kingston to Portmore. The lowlands also had to be filled by dredging the harbor and quarrying marl from Port Henderson Hill. Once this was completed, the development of housing could begin. From 1956, under Norman Washington Manning.
So somebody told a lie. Both statements were made in the House of Parliament. I'm going to call Damian Crawford. Call Orlando Turlang, because Orlando Turlang first, him first said this.
You know, Mr. Speaker, in the 1960s, a great visionary, and I heard my colleague mention his name. A great visionary, the most honorable Edward George Phillips Siaga had a vision of creating Portmore in the 1960s. Mr. Speaker, that vision was scoffed at by the very opposition that is now scoffing at the vision of Portmore becoming the 15th parish.
No,
and
Turlang.
it is hypocritical, Mr. Speaker.
Hold on. MP Orlando Turlang, if you can't rebut Damian Crawford, you need to apologize. You must stop tell lies. Stop coming to the House of Parliament and tell lies. If you cannot rebut this,
To indeed, what can go so?
if you can't
I turn,
rebut
Mr. President,
this,
to
Orlando
no less
Turlang,
of a source
you
than
need
the
to
Jamaica Library
apologize.
We can trust the Jamaica Library
Service.
Service.
They may fire them after this or carry them to court.
Without prejudice.
This is with prejudice. Mr. President, the Jamaica Library Service indicates
Let me put on my glasses so I can hear.
indicates that a company was formed called the Portmore Land Development Company. They purchased the property from Caymanas Estate with the intention to establish housing development. In the 1950s, Kingston ran out of flat space for development. So housing development in Portmore was seen as a response to the great outcry for housing. The article goes on to say, before development began, a dike had to be constructed to contain Rio Cobre, and a causeway had to be built to connect Kingston to Portmore. The lowlands also had to be filled by dredging the harbor and quarrying marl from Port Henderson Hill. Once this was completed, the development of housing could begin. From 1956, under Norman Washington Manley. How then could they have come to claim? And I give credit where credit is due. As president of the PMPYO, we rewarded Edward Seaga for the formation of HEART. We had a whole dinner for him, he came. Mr. That Seaga wasn't a visionary, but Portmore was never a part of his vision.
Get it right.
Indeed,
History.
while the first scheme, Independent City, was built in 1969,
All right, Damian.
it was based on the completion.
One uno have to apologize. Me think I hear you know, Mr. Turlang. Because you made the statement in the parliament and Damian came and rubbish it and you have said nothing. This battle for the truth is not a competition between the PNP and the GLP, because the GLP have no lot nor part with the truth. I tell you no earlier if I call this brother named George Davis, and I think we might be on Caribbean radio now, some way, somehow. I think we might be connected, but somebody now need to call this brother
as the murder prime minister, because it was on your watch that we hit murders 1,000 for the year for the first time and sustained it. 1992, 629 murders. 93, 654 murders. 94, 690. 95, 780. 96, 925. 97 for the first time ever. 1,000, 1,038 for good measure. 98, 953. 99, 849. 2,887. 2001, 1,139. 2002, 1,045. 2003, 976. 2004, 1,471. And as a last lick, Mr. Percival, in 2005, your last full year, 1,674. So in the time you were at the wicket, Mr. Percival, 13,710 Jamaicans murdered in their own country. Private security exploded because everybody are grilled up. I try keep possession and limbs and lives safe. On your watch, the record will show more Jamaicans lost their lives to the gun and to murder on your watch than everybody else. That's how we will remember you.
George Davis. George Davis. That is pure rubbish. You just talk. No, Nadia. His figures are correct. His figures are right. Because when we are take them to school and I put the picker stick over them shoulder, truth is our mantra. So 13,710 people was murdered under PJ Patterson leadership in 14 years, George Davis. So you left out that. It's 14 years under PJ. But my people, what George Davis not tell you, say now. Hear what George Davis not tell you. 2016, 1,354 people murdered. 2017, 1,647. 2018, 1,287. 2019, 1,339. 2020, 1,323. 2021, 1,474. 2022, 1,498. 2023, 1,393. 2024, 1,114, for a total of 12,456 in 9 years. Now hear this, George Davis. If you are going to use the numbers to decide who is the murder prime minister of Jamaica, it must be Andrew Holness. And here is why, people. PJ Patterson, 13,710 people was murdered during the 14 years when PJ Patterson was in government, at an average of 979 persons per year. Under Andrew Holness, 12,456 persons were murdered at an average of 1,384 persons per year under Andrew Holness. George Davis, heat that. And let me tell you a little bit more about the maths, the science. The science. If, and let me add it up and tell you, because based on the average that Andrew Holness running at, if Andrew Holness was in power for one more year, plus 1,384, Andrew Holness one more year, if him got 10 years, he would have 13,840 based on his average. So for a shorter time, more people would have died. If you calculate the first 9 years of PJ Patterson, it would be way down. No other government in such short space of time has seen so many Jamaicans murder George Davis. So yes, 13,710 in 14 years compared to 12,456 in 9 years. Who then would you name the murder prime minister? We know that PJ Patterson did sue some people. We know that. So we know the bitter blood that they are having. I was seeing Dr. Russell in the studio. I will go and join him in another 2 minutes, Dr. Russell. So when George Davis and the nationwide crew
It was on your
run
watch.
out and I tell them lies and I spread propaganda, because this is pure propaganda, by referring to PJ Patterson as the murder prime minister, George Davis, you've been disingenuous. Because when we look at the figure, we realize that under Andrew Holness, an average of 1,384 persons is being murdered every year. Under PJ Patterson, it was 979 on average. So go away. We do no propaganda. Go away. We do no lies. You're talking about battle for the truth. The truth I go beat you know. The truth I go beat you know. Where Dr. Russell gone? Dr. Russell, we saw you a while ago. We want you come back. We want you forward. The lies, we are going to bring forward the truth to the people. So, we not take on the lies because this is the digital age. Dr. Russell, we want to see a video. This is the digital age. And when George Davis run out and spreading propaganda, disrespecting PJ Patterson. Hold on, I want to hear all this youth here disrespect Jamaica's longest reigning prime minister. Hold on. I think I never sent it.
It's closed?
Hold on, I'm going to send that part there. There's another part where the youth say PJ must put on in pyjama and go on in bed and be careful and kick over the piss pot on the way. Me never know say mainstream media gone to that place now. Mainstream media has lost their way. You wouldn't expect that vulgarity a couple years ago in mainstream media. But that is where we are now. That is where we are.
Isaac, to prove
listen this rudeness.
that you have no moral authority to enter any argument about how this country is run. And in tandem with your former finance minister, the two of you together remind me of Dick Dastardly and Motley from Wacky Racers. You did to this country what Phillips and Simpson Miller, Holness and Shaw, Holness and Clark, and now Holness and Favor William.
Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening, Caribbean Radio, good evening. Yeah, caller, talk up, man. Turn off your instrument and talk to me. Hello, good evening. I hear in the call line at the background, not talking, but let's carry on.
Are trying to correct. I say to you, Mr. Percival, you talk about you missed the days when you would put on your gown and go to court. Put on your nightgown and go to bed. May kick over your chamber pot on the way.
Rude. Out of order, George Davis. Spewing one bag of horse manure out of your mouth. You rude. You little rude thing. Dr. Russell, good evening.
My brother.
Russell?
Yes, man. You can hear me?
Yes, man. I am hearing you. And my listeners
blessings.
and viewers are hearing you. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here. Are you seeing me as well? I can't see myself, so I just want to
No,
make sure.
I'm not seeing you. You need to turn on the video. So look at the camera and touch on your camera. So your video is mute. And I know the people want to see you now. Dr. Kenneth Russell is the PNP standard bearer in Southeast St. Ann. And now you lock it now. And for those of you who don't know where that is the constituency that Comrade Lisa Anna is the member of parliament for. I'm hearing you loud and clear, but I'm not seeing you. Just look at your video. You see your camera. Let me just look back how this thing works. See if I can guide you to get your camera working. So you go on to the app and accept all. But your camera, all right. Now you see right where you should be seeing your camera on your phone. And then if your camera is red with a cross, then you
Yeah.
need to just touch on the camera, and that
Yeah.
should bring you on. But
I did that.
I seen a padlock coming up now, and not seen you at all. Look like a camera lock. Well, let's start, Dr. Russell.
All right.
We're not
Sorry about
seeing
that. I'm not sure. I know it's showing that I should be on, but it's not.
You're seeing yourself?
No, I'm not seeing myself either. So
If you're not seeing yourself, then that means your camera not open. Your camera is closed.
yeah,
Showing a padlock on my end. But
yeah, that's what I'm seeing. All right, let's press on.
yes, let's press on with the audio. Dr. Kenneth Russell, tell the people who is Dr. Russell. Let's bring them up to speed with who you are, where you're from, and all of that.
Good. So first, thanks for having me. It's good to be here, and I like your consistent serving of the facts to the people and allowing us a space to talk about some of the issues that we're not hearing elsewhere. So really appreciate that.
Yes,
I'm a man from Southeast St. Anne. I grew up there, a small community called Pedro River. That's where I am from. Went to the local high school, the Ferncourt High School. And then after Ferncourt, I went on to study in the US. I have studied at Howard University as well as Harvard University, which is where I got my doctorate in education.
So your PhD is in education?
Yeah, I have a doctorate in education.
Brilliant.
Yeah, man, from Harvard, and I have a master's as well in education from Harvard, and a first degree in communications from Howard University in Washington, D.C. And after studying and coming, I study, I come back to Jamaica, I go off and study, and throughout that time, just consistently working either in the public sector or with the United Nations. I worked with UNICEF in Jamaica for a while.
Yeah.
And then went off to work with UNICEF in Sri Lanka at first. Then I worked in Zimbabwe. I lived in Zimbabwe with my family for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Working on education-related issues. And interestingly, I left Zimbabwe on the day that Robert Mugabe was overthrown, the day of the coup. I left Zimbabwe.
Is that lucky or blessings?
Boy, I can tell you, I learned a lot of lessons.
Yes,
it's an amazing country, but really in a difficult spot at the moment. Lots of Jamaican love there, though. Lots of love for Jamaica. So from Zimbabwe, I then I went to work in Bangladesh and spent another 3 years working in Bangladesh. A critical part of that time in Bangladesh was working in the camps. You would have heard about the Rohingya who were displaced from Myanmar and came over to Bangladesh. So I spent time supporting the provision of education to the Rohingya in those in the refugee camps. And then after that, I worked at UNICEF's headquarters in New York. I was the head of primary education. So a lot of the work that came out after the COVID pandemic with trying to recover the learning losses of the pandemic, I had a hand in a lot of that.
Sound like you did some good work, Dr. Russell. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and this is what my life has been about. Because of my humble beginnings, I feel like having had the blessing of a really good education, I think my responsibility is to give back and to make life better for others. And that's what I did then with the UN, and that's what I want to do now.
So what really brought you to the politics?
Man, the politics has always been with me. It's honestly, when my wife and I told her even before we got married, I said there are two things that are not negotiable. One is that I'm going to go into politics, and two, I'm coming back to Jamaica. It doesn't matter where we go, whether we go to study or to work, I'm coming back to Jamaica. So the rest of it, you can take charge, but those two things are not negotiable. Okay. So because I've always seen the politics, and especially working in the UN, a lot of what we got done was because we were able to do the advocacy, but at the end of the day, it was up to the policymakers to make a decision. So I
like to tell people that politics makes policies that runs the country.
There you go. And then someone like me from the hills of St. Anne benefited from good policies. right?
Yes.
So you're growing up in a household, whether it is the free education or the school meals or the program that they had at the time, food for the food stamp programs and so on.
Yeah.
That's good policy, right? Changing people's lives.
Yes.
And so that's what I want to be a part of, to ensure that we use the system to make a difference in people's lives.
Southeast Sentan. You are from that area, you said?
Yes.
Exactly where?
So the Bensonton division, which is the division which borders Clarendon. So my community of Pedro River is on the border with Clarendon. So very close to Kellits, about 5 miles from Kellits, for those who know that area.
So you're a real country youth.
Yeah, man. Big and serious.
The seat, though, that you're running in Southeast Sentan is really known as a PNP bastion. Would you agree?
Yes. It has never been lost by the People's National Party.
Although we came very, very close to the last election. What we won by 35 or 32?
32.
32.
So
what caused it? What caused that?
So just to say that the constituency has evolved over time. You know, there were some changes in the boundaries. So you would know that before I guess before me, at the moment, Comrade Hannah is the MP. Before Lisa, you had Alun Asamba, and before Alun, Seymour Mullings, the man himself, and before Seymour was Lloyd, Dr. Ivan Lloyd.
Yeah.
So over time, the boundaries have also changed. But in 2020, there are a couple of things. I think for starters,
can you see the question on your screen?
Yes, I can see the text on the screen.
Okay, good. All right. So when you finish, then you can just answer that.
Okay. So 2020, there are a number of things, right? A number of things at play. I think for the party on a whole, but certainly in Southeast, a lot of our people didn't come out. There was a significant amount of disengagement of comrades from the election. Some of that was COVID, but then there are other factors as well, including some things done by the opposition to try and keep people at home. So I think that is the major hurdle and the major thing that we're dealing with as we campaign now, just to make sure we address that concern and ensure that people are willing to come back out. And but it's not that people are not supportive. Actually, the JLP got, if I remember correctly, about 150 more votes than the previous. Actually, over the last 3 elections, I think their numbers have increased by about 150 in 2020, 300 or thereabouts since 2011. So it's not as if they got a large number. It's just that
the PNP never turned out
significantly. Yeah. Oh. So we got over 2,000 votes less in 2020 than we got in 2016. So as you would have seen from the numbers in the local government election, the comrades are re-engaging.
Yes.
We won all 4 divisions. We had 3 or 4. We won the 4th, and we had over 2,000 votes more than the Labour Party. So
the base came back.
So the base is and it continues to come back. And that's part of the work I'm doing, is on the ground, 4 days of the week, walking into yards and talking to people and doing the legwork. So that's how we are ensuring that we get the comrades to come out in the next election.
Okay. Want to welcome the listeners on Caribbean Radio HD. Realize that we just connected to Caribbean Radio HD, so I want to welcome our listeners over there in the United States. We're on about 11 radio stations over there in the United States. Now, I was seeing Dr. Russell on this one. Let's bring him up. Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Russell.
Some people working in the background,
Yes. So now they can see you. Beautiful. Yeah, man. So, Dr. Russell, somebody was asking about the borders of your constituency. They are saying it's a big constituency.
My brother, I tell you, it's geographically the largest constituency in the country. So,
for real?
For those
I never know that.
Yeah, man. So for those who have a sense of the geography, so if you're coming from St. Anne's Bay and you come up to Lime Hall, where the playfield is, where the primary school is. It's basically, it starts there and it goes all the way through Claremont, Golden Grove, Moneague, and continues up into the hills. And then to one side is 9 miles, and then to the other end, Mile End, which is
so 9 Mile is a part of your constituency.
9 Mile is a part of the constituency.
All right. When you leave Claremont and you turn up, you make the left and go up the hill. You'd make a right. You'd make a right to go 9 Mile, but when you go straight up, where up the sun name?
No, that's my yard. That's it, because you go straight up, you're going to Bensonton.
So you know some people up the name Henry, the Henry them.
Henry in Bensonton?
Yeah.
You have Henrys in multiple communities along there. So it depends on which one.
I think up far up, but when you go Claremont, you make the left and you keep going. You don't make the right, like, but you have to make a right to go 9 Mile. But you don't make the right, you go straight up there. So
you go straight. Yeah, man. So you go through Harmonyville, Drumley, Bensonton, Concord, Tidro, which is where I'm from, and then the border with Clarendon. And if you make the right, it takes you back to Mackney, which is where Mackney, Coley, Fort George. It's our vegetable belt in that area, because we're a major vegetable producer for the country, right? So yeah, it's a really big
constituency.
As I said, the largest one in the country.
Dr. Russell, the constituency is now under PNP, Member of Parliament. How easy it is or how difficult it is to get things done in your constituency under this GLP administration?
You know, somebody said to me the other day, we were in a meeting, and somebody said it feels like they announce an allocation and them say MP is getting so and so.
Right.
And then you don't see it, or they do whatever they can to frustrate the process, right? So you don't get the contracts approved as quickly as one would like. You don't get the urgency, right? So the allocations will be done for all MPs, and then you realize that your MP is struggling just to get the contracting or to get the resources coming in. So in some cases, that the politics is at play, and it's not just at the MP level; it's also at the local level. The municipal corporation is controlled by the JLP, and it's a similar challenge they're having, because last week one of the comrades was telling me that you'll put in for 10 and you don't get any, and the other side puts in 5 and gets 3 out of the 5 projects that they want.
Right.
So there is a deliberate, and I think because of the nature of Southeast and we probably get some additional attention, because they are also trying to frustrate the voters. And
yes.
That is politics at its worst, because
political victimization.
Yes, man. And I think that it's worse than some of the things that because it puts the MP, puts the councillors in a really bad position, because the public knows that there's an allocation made.
Right.
And then they have to try to explain why is it that they're not able to access those resources, or why are other divisions or other constituencies doing and you are not. And so, yeah, that victimization, it's real.
Dr. Russell, we are expecting an election anytime. Some people want me to ask you some deep political question, but some Allen want me to ask you how much people you register and all of that. I'm not going to ask you that. Some that those are not for public consumption.
Man, what do you mean?
Well, if you want to tell him, let me put up the question, because I don't think that is for public consumption to tell you
but
how much.
No. This is how I answer it. I would say that we are consistent in continuing to encourage people to register. Even today, I was using my social media pages to say to people, if an election is called late May, early June, that's going to be on a different voters list than we have now.
Right.
So we still, as we go around in communities, I was in a community walking on Saturday. I met this young lady. She's just turned 18 in February. She hasn't gone. Today, I was messaging her, checking, have you gone to the EOJ, right? So we continue to do that work. We are not taking for granted that the list that is currently, the current list is the one that's going to be used. We are
because this phase finishes on the 31st of March. So there are 2 phases every year. This one finishes
Yes.
on the 31st of March. So if you are numerated by the 31st of March, you will come on the May list. So if the election is after May, then you'll be able to vote.
You'll be
So
able to
go
vote.
and register
Yes.
now. Dr. Russell,
That
tell
is-
us
that's
about
it.
some of the things that you are planning for the people of your constituency.
All right. So there was another question, which I would love to get a
Oh, the
chance to come
borders,
back
the
to it,
one
but-
somebody wanted to know the borders of your
Yeah, we covered that.
constituency.
I think I covered that, but there's another question. Somebody said they don't meet me, so me want, we don't want
Oh,
that to.
yeah, there's somebody who said they wanted to talk to you for a long time.
All right, so we'll sort that out. In terms of the constituency and the plans, at the core of what I'm focusing on is what I call the 1990 plan. 1990. We have the evidence. My background is in education, and from the evidence, we know that if children read early,
Yes,
if children are reading by the end of grade 2 into grade 3, it's a very different trajectory than if they read much later, right? Their love for learning, their ability to reason, and so on, all of that, it's enhanced by being able to read earlier. So I am putting a lot of emphasis on that, investing in foundational learning, literacy, and numeracy, ensuring that by the time children finish grade 2, by the time they're into grade 3, they're reading. So that means providing support to schools. In some schools, it will be breakfast programs, it's training of teachers, it's supplementary reading materials. It's also working with parents, because we know that parental involvement is a major factor. So that's part of the long-term plan. The other part of this is making sure that when you're leaving secondary school, you have the entry-level requirements, whether it is for work or if you're going to be going to entrepreneurship, that you have the skills, the subjects that you need to do that. So I am intend to invest in ensuring that happens, and linking young people coming out of schools, out of secondary schools, to opportunities. Because once you leave and you spend 6 months, 8 months, a year on the corner or at home trying to figure it out, then all kinds of other things begin to distract you. And I think that transition
work for eye glands.
Tell your brother, the transition from secondary to the world of work is a difficult one, because remember, you have somebody waking you up, giving you lunch money, looking over your shoulder until September morning after you graduate. Them say, "What you do?
What you deal with? Yeah.
What you do?" Right.
Something else have to go on now.
It's almost like something a switch is flipped, and you're supposed to figure it out on your own. So we want to help to scaffold that and to work with the system. So that's on the education side. We have to invest in our young people, both in terms of now you're out of the system, so entrepreneurship opportunities, whether it be a toolkit, a grant, the opportunity to go back. A lot of them are very young, but they left the system before they could understand what is this AI thing, what is coding, how can I tap into some of that. So creating these spaces, we're calling them innovation hubs. It serves both the purpose of learning skills that you don't have and that you're interested in, but also if you're starting a business and you're trying to figure it out, this is a space where you can come, you can, test your ideas, and as I said, learn new skills as well. Then there are some core things, right? I heard the minister today talking about the Water Commission and her experience growing up.
Yes.
It is still the reality for most of the people in my constituency that they do not have piped
running water.
Yes. So that's something that community by community, and it's multiple forms. In some cases, it's the Water Commission, and I think as we have to have a serious look at the work of the commission. But then we also have good models in the constituency of community water systems.
Yes.
Right? Because we have a number of rivers, we have a few wells. Those, even if they're not attached to the connected to the Water Commission system, we can create these community water systems. We have a really good model in the community where I grew up, in Pedro River.
Would you believe that we have water problems in Portland, Dr. Russell? People are still, the way the minister described it today, make a cutter and carry water upon your head, that is still happening in Portland?
Yeah, I hear you, and it's happening in too many places. And we have to say it's unacceptable, right? We have to say it's unacceptable because you have a lot of young people, especially young girls, they come home from school and because they spend so much time trying to fetch water, by the time they're done, then they have to go home and do some chores. Then the schoolwork suffers and their overall development suffers as a result. So I think those are the kinds of things we have to say, no, we can't continue this way. This will not be part of the work that we want to do going forward. It's the change that, right? So water is critical. We're massive, and I know my MP at the moment is one of the big advocates for us to look differently at how the issues of road is addressed and making sure that we don't give everybody the same amount. Not when Southeast St. Anne has 40% of the NAA roads in the parish, 40%, and there are 4 constituencies, right?
And you get the same amount that everybody get.
Exactly.
It don't make no sense. But even in Kingston, people who have little bit of road in Kingston and St. Andrew get the same money that you get down there in Southeast St. Anne. What can go so?
Well, that's how it is going, but it is not equitable, right? And so I will always be frustrated trying to figure out what to do with the roads in the constituency because of the resources. But we also intend to be a lot more creative. I think we can do more with partnerships. We have, for example, the 9 Mile area with the whole tourism attraction around Bob Marley, because that is also in Southeast St. Anne.
Yeah.
And so, what linkage do we make to tourism in that regard? And how does that help us with getting resources to fix those roads? Again, as I said earlier on, farming and the farm roads that we have, opening up those, using them as connectors across the constituency, because when I was growing up, a lot of those roads, facilitated the kind of large-scale farming that was taking place, which in some cases, in a lot of cases, is not happening anymore. But we want to go back to that. If like that area you're talking about, you make the right to go to 9 Mile or continue straight to go towards Bensington.
Yeah.
A lot of those lands are just lying fallow. Those lands are sitting there, have not been used for a significant period of time. How do we get those lands into the hands of young people who can use it productively, even if it is for a limited period of time? I think that's the kind of advocacy work that we're going to do to ensure that those resources don't just sit there and basically go to waste, right? We want to make sure that those become productive resources. But as you know, our party is a party that believes our people should own the land. And I look forward to the work that we're going to do on land reform, so that those, we have quite a few communities in Parrytown, in Pine Walk, in Beechertown, in Moneed even, where people are living on the land and have lived there for extended periods of time, but do not have the title.
Legal
they do
tenure.
not have for those properties. So that's part of the work that we have to do, because we're talking about full liberation and freedom of our people, and the land has to be a part of that conversation. So it's land reform, both in the sense of those who we need to formalize because they already are on the land, but also young people, especially getting access to land to use for productive purposes, but also for homes as well. So
go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so that's on the land. We are an agricultural based constituency. So I joke because I farm, right? I grow ginger and turmeric and thing. And I keep saying I say to some people, some days I feel like I'm farming in exactly the same way as my great-great-grandfather did, right? But we know the evidence, we know the science is there, we know that the technology is there for us to do some things differently. And a lot of what's going on now requires that we be a bit more innovative and introduce more technology into the farms. And so that's part of the plan as well. And especially for the younger farmers, some of them are experimenting, simple things like greenhouses, tagging animals, because we have to deal with this issue of predial larceny and so on. These are the kinds of things that we need to do to bring young people into the farming, and just to make sure that when they do farm, they can see, they can enjoy the returns from their farms. Because right now, the things that are when the market is good, you're basically trying to catch a market, right? You're trying to have the vegetables coming in at a time when there isn't a glut on the market. And I'm saying we have to go beyond that. We need to look at a network of cold storage facilities across the constituency, as well as a lot more work needs to be done on agro-processing. So having that either a guaranteed market or the storage to ensure that you don't lose most of what you produce. Because
how are you getting your message across to your constituents?
So there are two main ways. The one is the face-to-face, the contact that you make from walking, from speaking at events, from meetings, and so on. And then the other is through social media, and that takes, it's a largely, especially for the older folks, Facebook, but also, now we're investing a lot more into the others, TikTok and Instagram. So social media is a major part of that, and then spaces like these just to have this kind of conversation. But there is, as we go along and we start having, we have meetings now. They are much smaller, but as we go along, we're going to be having the town halls and the classroom discussions to work through some of these things.
What are your views on constituency debate? You debating your opponent in the upcoming election?
Yeah, man, I think it should happen. I think they should happen because, for starters, the people deserve the opportunity to hear where we are, what's our thinking on the issues that are affecting them, and so I would welcome that. It's also a space where I think it's so there are two levels, there are two layers to it, really. One, in those debates, you're sharing, you're getting challenged, I would hope, in a way that you might not get challenged even in some of the town hall meetings, because generally, those tend to be more friendly spaces. So to be asked to defend, I guess, the positions, your values, your plans, and so on, I think the debates would provide a great space for that. So I would welcome it. But I also want us to go beyond the debates. I think we also should produce and share with people a constituency development plan, because I say all the time, I'm asking you for your vote, but that's only step one, right? That's only the first part of the relationship. I want you to also hold me accountable,
right? And you must be offering something.
Yes, because you can't hold me accountable if there isn't,
if you don't tell me what you offer.
There you go. So a constituency development plan allows for that more concrete set of ideas that people can then say, well, how are we progressing on this? And then you have to give an account of how it's going.
Dr. Russell, talk to me a little bit about sports and culture in your constituency. How you plan to grow that?
Yeah, man. So we have a network, and we're really lucky in that we have the basic infrastructure in a lot of communities. Whether it be just a play field, a play area. Last night we were actually having a discussion, and we were counting the number of communities where we'll actually have to do new preparation, I guess, of play fields. So we are quite lucky in that regard. But we need to make sure, and we will ensure, that there's a program in place to maintain these spaces, both the play fields, both the play fields and the structures that are built. We have actually a few places where really good, really nice community centers have been built. And we do that not just by, rehabilitating, but I think one of the things that we have to do more of is actually ensuring that there are events, opportunities for use of these spaces. They say buildings die when nobody, they live and breathe when people are using them. So having a program across the year of multiple different sports that are played at different points of the year, so that ensures that there's life in these spaces. But when I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I still remember the Mass Egger truck. We used to jump on that truck and go to cricket.
Yeah, man.
Yes, man.
Community cricket game.
Yes, because
Crazy.
some of the places I'm going now to campaign, I keep saying, I came down that play field, I came there to play cricket, or that one I sprained my ankle,
Yeah.
or me take a wicked catch around there, so
You
around a
can
Golden Grove,
remember.
and that,
Yeah.
well, so I sprained my ankle and took the catch in the same match. It's the only match me play now. The other one, them may score and may empire and thing, but
Yeah.
we used to go out and this inter-community relationship that we built, a lot of friendships emerge from those that are still there, right? A man told me the other day, yeah, man, we used to come up at your place, come play cricket. But that doesn't happen as much now. And we have to, I intend to bring that back by creating these opportunities for people to play and to reach out to each other. On the side of culture, and I know I'm rushing, but if you ever drive from Money to Claremont, and when you come through Golden Grove, somebody reminded me earlier this week that there's a plaque. There's a plaque in Golden Grove, Crescent Park, the road that goes to Crescent Park, which commemorates the mining of bauxite and the fact that this place started this. We founded this ore that has basically revolutionized the whole that industry, that mineral industry. So
right.
We have these gems in the constituency. We have these great houses. We have these historic sites, and part of what we have to do is to help to tell the stories of these sites, ensure that our children are able to visit them and that they're able to experience them in a way that gives them pride in where they're from and to understand the history of these places. But in addition to that, as I said, it's Bob Marley's. This is where Bob Marley's from.
Yes.
We still have lots of young people who are, trying to make it in the industry. We still have lots of young people who are not just doing music and poetry, but also the crafts and so on. So part of what we've been talking about is what we call protect the culture, which is basically creating a space where it's you come to hear the stories, but you also come to document the story. We imagine intergenerational conversations. If we're talking, for example, about we're talking about water, or we're talking about the road network and how it has evolved. That's a part of the culture. This is a story of how we've emerged, which we need to be able to tell. So creating these hubs in the constituency, and it could be it needs to be repurposing some of these centers that we have. If we're breathing life into the community centers, that's one of the actions, one of the activities which could be part of the program of work that takes place in those spaces. So that side of it is really really important. Documenting it, getting young people to learn, to write about it, and so on. But also getting those who are interested in a career in the cultural industries to take on and to practice their craft, to learn and practice their craft. So we have a really good history on which we will build, and I think we have the opportunity with solid linkages to the tourism industry, because we're just on the cusp, I guess, of the North Coast, and in addition to that, having the people being able to traverse the community, whether it is on the way to 9 miles or to any of these historic sites. That's the kind of ways in which you want to link tourism into the communities, and to be able to benefit, I guess, financially from using some of these culture and arts related resources that are available to us, and that we will create.
We're talking to Dr. Kenneth Russell, the MP candidate for South East Central and the Deputy Shadow Minister of Education. Let's talk about education a little bit in Jamaica. There was an issue in Montego Bay. And I hearing something in the background, Dr. Russell. There was an issue in Montego Bay where the board chairman and the principal, you put out a release on that. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah. We have to be really clear and uncompromising when it comes to our children and their education. It doesn't matter what's happening in an institution. The children's education should not be, you should not sacrifice their learning time in order to deal with the issues that are affecting adults. And it was unfortunate that the school had to close because of this disagreement between the board and the other personnel of the school.
Right.
And I think this is where work is needed to ensure that the governance of schools is managed in such a way that you need greater separation between the policy making arm of the school and the day-to-day operational aspects of the school. So that was unfortunate. But I'm saying because of where we are educationally, if your child in Jamaica, on average, the child who goes to school for about 11 years will end up getting about 7 years of learning, right? So a good 4 of the 11 years are wasted, right? You don't get returns on that time in school. So we do not have the luxury. We do not have the luxury of children missing a day, and in that case, missing 2 days. And I think
because of a man's ego.
Yeah, well, the egos, you'll always have that, but you shouldn't have the power to disrupt and to cause my child to miss 2-3 days of school, right? Because of whatever it is that you're dissatisfied with. So it comes back to where we're strong as a government. It comes back to legislation. It comes back to making sure that we improve. The Education Act
thinking
has been
about
under
any
review
change,
for a long time.
thinking about any changes because of that incident.
Yeah, so we have to look, and I think Comrade Crawford had sent a release which speaks to some of the adjustments which needs to be made and the considerations, and some of them are also reflected in the Patterson report, right, about how boards are selected, being very clear about the roles that the board play and making that distinction very clear between what the board does, what the school principal does, right? So those are things that we have to act really quickly. But again, the Education Act, the revisions have been underway. We've been talking about this, easily 20 years, if not more. So when I was working in government in youth development, we were talking about it and we're providing feedback on it. So we need to expedite that process. The act itself is, I think, from 1965. The regulations are from 1980. We really have to look at it because we cannot continue in the way that we're doing now. I know that most of the boards, the people volunteer to serve on these boards, but we still have to ensure that we, not because it's you're giving of your service doesn't mean that it should be a free for all.
Dr. Russell, I want to thank you this evening for joining us for a few minutes to basically talk about your constituency. Anything you want to add before you leave us?
Just two things. I think for starters, we need a change of government, because where we are as a country, we are in this place where it seems as if just about anything goes. You have people, whether it is in the hospitals, I have constituents who sit on those chairs in those hospitals for 3 days, 4 days. I have constituents lying in a bed for a week and can't get a scan, right? So whether it is that, or you look at what's happening in schools and the performance of children, we're at this place where it feels as if it's a downward slide, and that needs to stop. And it starts with a government that is accountable. It starts with a government that is caring and is putting people at the center of what they do. And so we in Southeast St. Ann, we're ready for an election. We're ready to win and to win big. But we are going to do our part, and we're asking the rest of the country to ensure that they also do their part. And I want to thank Southeast St. Ann in advance. And we look forward to the Prime Minister calling it, and we will do the rest.
You're ready. Dr. Kenneth Russell, thanks for joining us this evening. It's been a while. We've been trying to get you on. And we'll talk again pretty soon.
Love and blessings, my brother.
Blessings, my brother. All the best. Dr. Kenneth Russell from Southeast St. Ann. The man says he's going to bring it to him big this time. Yeah, man. 804-7072. We're opening the phone lines and we're taking your call. George Davis. We call for him. George Davis, you are disingenuous. And you throw out figures. But as we say, match these figures. 14 years. 14 years of PJ Patterson. 13,710 people murdered. 9 years of Andrew Holness with a promise for us to sleep with our doors and windows open. 12,456, an average of 1,384 murders every year. PJ Patterson, average 979. Who is the, if you check the average at 8 years, and I say 9 years, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, man. 9 years. Solid. 9 years of Andrew Wellness. Samba Wagwan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bell.
Where are my brother?
You see, that's the reason why a lot of us is asking for our PNP about task force to respond to all this propaganda that these people tell.
Talk to me. May I listen to you, man?
Yeah, because you have a platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're tearing it down, right?
Yeah.
That's why a lot of us are calling for the PNP to have a task force with people like you, what the name, Dennis Miller and a few more, with a research team behind you guys.
Well, I hear the call. I've heard the call. People have called this program. They have been saying it. I hear say it on some other program. But my brother, we take the time out when we hear these things. We go look.
Yeah.
We go look. So we went and we looked at the time under PJ. And we say, okay, 13,710, but that's 14 years.
Yeah.
And Bandan, if you count 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 is 9 years. 2016 to 2024 is 9 years, brother. Count it. Okay, you have to count 2016 in it.
If you had Bruce time to under 13 years, I'd push 4 years to.
No, but I hold on. I can tell you something because I do more work than that, you know. I do more work than that.
Yeah.
You understand?
Right.
Because after 4 years, 4 years of PNP, the average from 2011, to 2015, 2011 to 2012, sorry.
2011 to 2015.
2011 to 2015. Right. 2011. No, I didn't count 2011 because the election was December 2011. Right? So you count 2012, 13, 14, 15. And I think 16, the election was February 2016. So it's really 4 years under the PNP. There was 4,511 murders, an average of 1,127.
No, remember now, in 2016, Andrew Holness, who a March, a second takeover now.
Yeah, man. So I give him.
I'm saying within 9 months.
So I give him 2016 fully. I'm telling you, I work it.
Yeah.
I gave him 2016. All of 2016, me give him. Yeah.
Right.
But when you work it out, him average is 1,384 for the 9 years. When you look at the first 4 years, his average is 1,406.
Right.
You understand what I say?
Yeah. But one thing, these people believe that everybody dunks. right? And you know, you can ask any 12-year-old to go on our website and do some research for you.
And find the information, brother. That's why I keep telling you about these analog politicians. I thought George Davis was a digital man. I never know that George Davis is an analog man.
No, you call him, no, we don't call him analog. We call him here's a politician.
But you remember that PJ Patterson had sued Cliff Hughes, right?
Yeah, I was very close to those suing and know everything about it.
So PJ Patterson take off a piece of food off of Cliff Hughes. So me I wonder if that's why them come out so bitter when PJ come out. Till a man where I think George Davis the president of the Press Association of Jamaica?
Not anymore.
But he was the president.
He was president once.
And he's coming out telling a former prime minister to put on him nightgown and go in bed and mind and kick over and piss pot on the way.
But anybody who got Cliff Hughes on, you get the DNA of lies on. and I can tell you, Cliff Hughes was not like that at JVC.
I told somebody the other day that I still think Cliff Hughes is a good journalist, good investigative journalist.
No, it was not like that. Because he want, I don't want to spill him story in the public now. But it's one time you get a jar, you get half jar.
Yeah.
A water. You feel say no, you forget the whole jar.
Yeah.
And we not get you broke it up.
Yeah, man. So
that's what Cliff Hughes.
I want somebody talk George Davis and make him know. So we mash down the lie. If there's any murder, if there's any murder prime minister in Jamaica, it has got to be Andrew Holness.
Well, but you know something? You look on Bruce 4 years?
Bruce 4 years, I looked at it. Bruce 4 years was... Bruce 4 years.
Almost 6,000 people. Yeah.
Hold on. The Bruce 4 years was 2007. So 2007, 1,574. 2008, 1,601. 2009, 1,680. 2010, 1,428. 2011, 1,125. Now the lowest murder rate. Eh?
I go on the JC. I look at the JC site. And that's what I see. I see 2008, 1,601.
That's what I have.
2009, 1,680.
That's what I have. That's what I just said.
2010, 1,447.
Well, I have 1,428.
2011, 1,133. That's what I have.
I have 1,125. So we have some little different figures there.
Right.
But the best figures, if you can call murder, if you can call murder rate the best, 2014 was the lowest we have had in a very long time. That's 1,005 in 2014. 2012 was 1,102. And 2013 was 1,202. 2015, 1,202. So if you're looking at security ministers who you want to say did a good job, then
Peter Bunting,
you have to put some respect on Peter Murcott Bunting name.
Yeah.
Must put some respect.
And you know the permanent secretary at that time was a Canadian person who returned to Jamaica. He was working in the security in the American government. He come to Jamaica. I can't remember his name, who was in charge of security. I was permanent secretary, and they get together and form Crime Management Society.
Well, and remember,
organization.
remember, I think the British police, they were here at that time too.
Yeah, but also the British police, them,
Mm-hmm.
it was a crime management program.
And the violence interrupters. Remember that
Right,
that was a set of people too.
By Mr. Harvey, right?
Yeah.
Right, and they come with the program where you go and you people start get working in good private sector and all those things, right?
All right, Sam. Enough respect, my brother.
Yeah, man.
Blessings.
1 second before we go away.
Yeah.
1 second before we go away. You were talking to Mr. Rosa. Sorry. Do you know that in 1977 there was a draw was given to Michael Money that Reynolds right down Golden Grove there, so you know flat land, right with the hill. Yes, there was going to plan to have a dam there. The same thing in Manchester. Right, we are going to backside.
Well, remember, Michael Manley was planning a lot of micro dams, you know.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So right there, I remember, cause I was them time in the PMP youth movement, and our Dolly father was in charge of irrigation. But money was in kind and take a group of us to a meeting Michael Manley with some water thing. And in 2020, I meet a friend in New York, and we're talking, and the man go to my house and bring 2 big map drawing. Is it Highway 2000?
Yeah.
That was draw from give Michael Manley for 1975. Though.
I hear you, my boss. Whole heap of history. All right, we could talk again tomorrow evening.
Yeah, man. All right.
Yeah, man. 804-7072, we're taking your calls. And of course, I don't know where I forgot to have some talk because the time has changed in the United States. They are back to what? Daylight savings time. Our time not changing at Jamaica. We are consistent with our time. The next man may I call out this evening is Orlando Turlang. You're going at the parliament, Mr. Turlang, and you lie to the parliament. We cannot trust you, sir. You told us that Portmore was the vision of Eddie Siaga. You need to apologize to the people of Jamaica. Call out Orlando Turlang. Call him out, people, and tell him need to apologize to the people of Jamaica. Go ahead, caller. Talk to me. Turn off your instrument and listen to me on your telephone, please. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Father
man.
Bell Wagwan.
My day, I know what I say.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Under the PMP, our government was scrutinized heavily than any other government.
Yeah, man.
And the numbers that come out of the JCF, it was transparent.
Yeah.
What is happening now is a make-believe as if crime is done. You no longer, none of the radio stations in Jamaica reported about Unalive. None of the newspaper. And in terms of the data,
yeah,
the JCF released the data on its own peril. Look at it now. Oration has been there for 9 years. In Zozo, in run out state of emergency, and asked that thing and it couldn't go down. Anthony Anderson have been there for 6 years. And you want to tell me now, this commissioner of police not even there for 1.5 years. Bring down murder to a 25-year low.
Where you get that
47.
from? Where you get murder?
But now you are going, man.
Hold on, man.
47 for the month of February.
Hold on. We are talking about murder down to 25 years low. You ever hear people are check murder per month? I saw we check murder now. I saw it go now. It is the same way that this, hold on. It is the same way that this government want to change the definition of a recession. Now, instead of when the year done, them say this. Now them start check it every month because election are come. I am sure that maybe if we go check the month, because I don't believe them again when them tell you. When them come with them analysis, when they come with their analysis, have you checked any month in 2014 how much murders were created?
Until I had. Or more.
Me say, have you gone to check for the 12 months of 2014 how much people was murdered in February? You go check that?
You know, we always do research and things.
But me ask you a simple question, you don't answer me. You go check 2014 February?
No, me check it though.
Yeah, right? Man, you have to go check it.
What me I try to get through the G58 now, Colin, is in a 8 days, in a March, 28 people dead.
Yeah.
So, me not say all the correlation, how 47 dead for the whole of February.
But my brother,
when you look like I short the true number now, in a 8 day, 28 dead.
But my brother, what me I said to you, all I'm saying to you, that these labor rights, when they come with these numbers, yeah? If me not check it myself or another comrade researcher check it, me not settle upon it. Because when me hear Judge Davis come out and say 13,700 people dead while PJ Patterson was prime minister, me say, my God, that enough. But I did some research before for a program I did about 3 weeks ago. And when I looked at it, I knew that over 12,000 people have been murdered under Andrew Holness already. Me didn't know that. So when me hear the garbage, me go look. And when me go look, me say, yes, 13,710 under PJ. But it's 14 years. 12,456 under Andrew Holness in 9 years. And when you check the average, brother, Andrew Holness average is 1,384 to PJ Patterson 979. Then who is the murder prime minister?
That was Andrew.
Call George Davis. Call George Davis out of Nationwide. And
you
tell him, say mine
not operating as a journalist.
Tell George Davis, say mine step off I'm bedding in chimney a man in time.
I don't even want to hear the name. Because they are not operating in good governance in terms of journalism.
I never know.
They are operating in interest.
I never know say that mainstream radio gone to. I think mainstream radio was holding up.
You know what, Colin? The beauty about it, and I'm glad the PMP acknowledge it, is that them never spend the money for mainstream because it's dead.
No, mainstream media can't dead. It's not dead. It's not dead.
You feel so little life left tonight? You still have 1 or 2 people listening to
yes, it? Man. It's just that some of them not honest and some of them lie. And I hear Darrell Vaz saying I mean Sunday that this election is going to be a battle for the truth. There can be no battle for the truth when the GLP is involved. Because the GLP and the truth now have no lot in our part. Truth don't go over there, so. But there, boy.
Well, me I tell you, the labor right there, man. You know, and through with the year, I dissect the truth and I tell the people them what is happening.
Yeah.
You understand? And people are not falling for it. And the money, when I use and buy vote, after a while, everything rain, you know. And that's the problem, you know. Now, Colin.
All right, my brother. Enough respect.
Yeah, man.
Good evening. Welcome to the Colin Bell Show, 804-7072. Talk to me.
Hey, brother Colin, how you doing?
Ed boy, where you say, man? Big up yourself.
Big up yourself, man. Boy, I listened. Let me first greet your listeners here, and I want to thank you for bringing Dr. Kenneth Russell, a very good educator,
yeah, man,
and a man who I'm expecting will be contributing quite a lot in the next PNP administration.
It is showing the talent within the People's National Party, my brother. Talent over here.
I don't know how Mark Golding going to form that cabinet.
Talent over here so abundant.
I don't know. It's going to be a difficult task. Trust me.
But there will be a lot of work to be done.
Of course.
Whole heap of work.
And I think some people from the back benches have to step up and help out in some ministries as well.
Yes, man.
Yeah. But what I want to refer to, Colin, this little boy George. I mean, what's his name? George Davis? Right?
Georgia Davis.
I am disgusted at a former president of the media association.
Yeah.
No, let me tell you, Colin, I have never seen the media association with this coming from the standards that the media association of Jamaica has had for years. By the way, we are one of those media associations that have some of the greatest presidents in the past, right? Coming from people like Dan Jackson Miller. To even go further than that, back to men like Tony Abrams. Yeah. With Trevor Monroe and others who have been. It is so sad to see what is happening. Because, when you listen to his disparaging remarks on former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson, it is shameful, man.
Disgraceful.
It is shame, and it is politically colored in no uncertain way. But let me say this as a product of those 18 years he speaks so ill, so bad of, right? Those 18 years, I remember when there was no running water in my constituency. Yeah?
Mm.
And I remember when running water came under P.J. Patterson. I remember when my high school was not up. My high school was really a comprehensive school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And it was upgraded under the Rose program. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's a transformation. That's a school in the inner city,
Yeah.
In Maxfield Avenue. No, man, I'm not afraid to say which high school I go in Dr. Peter Phillips constituency. Yeah?
Talk to me.
And to see that Norman, man, it was upgraded to the point we used to win the national science competition for years and years. Yeah? Because of the investments that was made in the science lab.
Ed boy.
Investment. Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you a question. And anybody in the chat room can answer as well. What has been Jamaica's biggest moment for the last 30, let's say from 1980. Let's say from 1980. So that would be 45 years. What has been Jamaica's biggest moment in the last 45 years? Or Jamaica's, or even if you want to say Jamaica's top 3 biggest moment in the last 45 years? Anybody can tell me?
I reference.
What would you choose as Jamaica's biggest moment in the last 45 years, Ed boy?
It would be obviously it would be our investment in sports. That has seen us getting that traction. And also I'd say our investment in telecommunication. Those 2 things would be something that stand out for me. What would you say?
On the global stage, me still ask it. Because I see some people in the chat room have put telecommunication, telephone. What is Jamaica's all right, let's go to one moment. What has been Jamaica's biggest moment on the global stage for the last 45 years?
Boy, Colin, you have never asked me a question and I can't answer. So you are the teacher. You are the teacher.
Somebody is saying Bolt. Bolt was big. Mm. But don't you think Jamaica's qualification for the World Cup football in 1998?
Yes.
Which moment have we had in the last 45 years bigger than Jamaica qualification? Yes, Everton, the man just nailed it. Yes, the man nailed it. World Cup qualification.
Yes, World Cup. A little bit did I forget about that, Colin.
But
because I remember in the 98 World Cup as a younger boy. Right?
Yeah.
And Portia Simpson Miller was then Mr. Sports.
Yes.
And how she rallied the entire country. That during the qualification for World Cup in the 90s, they said there was no murder during the World Cup period.
Ed boy, Jamaica never get to the World Cup because of JFF.
No.
Jamaica never get to the World Cup because we had a superior team. Jamaica, George Davis, somebody call him. Jamaica got to the World Cup because of PJ Patterson deliberate effort. Rene Simoes never come to Jamaica because the JFF could have pay him. Rene Simoes coming to Jamaica was on a bilateral agreement, government to government. PJ Patterson engaged the government of Brazil, and they found somebody.
President Lula.
Look here, no man. Let me tell you something. When you diss PJ Patterson, the way you diss PJ Patterson, you're rude and out of order. Me have a friend who say you stink. Talk to me, boy.
Let me tell you where it's coming from, Colin. I'm going to set the record straight and expose them and their lives. Yeah? Where it's coming from, he has to follow his teacher and mentor, you know. Because his mentor and owner and operator is vexed with PJ. Because in the 90s, in the 80s when he was at JBC, by the way, he was a comrade. He was recruited by Michael Manley, yes?
Yeah.
In the 80s to join the organization to really help out with the media, right? So he was given a position at JBC. When he was attending Excelsior School, right? Then to Exed Community College, he was a part of that program. And his issue was that in 1989, when Manley regained power, he was expecting to go to become the press secretary for Prime Minister Manley. He never got it. And then he was expecting that PJ in 93 would have done the same to him. PJ promoted Philip Paulwell from his class because Philip Paulwell was in the same year group as the same one over Bradley Avenue.
Yeah.
Yes? So the hatred is coming from that same incident.
So what about the lawsuit?
No, well, the lawsuit came when in relation to when he made the comments when PJ went to Cuba to help Cuba structure their communications arrangement.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
And when him said PJ traveled much millions man playing with his liar self. But that was the end result. I'm telling you where it's the genesis.
Yeah.
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 The genesis was that he didn't get the cabinet. So then Horace Daly came to the cabinet 89, promoted as parliamentary secretary. So he never get the cabinet secretary post, right?
So who did want the cabinet secretary post? Cliff. Talk up the things them, head boy.
No, I'm telling you, and you can ask any day.
Talk the things them.
I want you to bring Horace Daly one day here and ask him. He could tell you. Or bring Philip Powell, ask him. They could tell you. So that hatred started from between 89 and 93. Remember, 120 he went to interview Edward Siaga, and I want to credit this to a caller who called us and make we talk with Jeffrey yesterday.
Yeah.
That reminded us about it. That he went to interview Siaga, and Siaga said, no PNP journalist can interview me.
Oh?
So when you see them come and behave, and then they have to be singing for their support, because the bulk of their payment comes from government advertisement.
But one of the things we need to draw up doing a head boy is that we need to call on the Auditor General to find out, because this document that was floating around about who owed taxes, you cannot owe that amount of taxes and get government contracts same way, because that means you wouldn't have a TCC. How would you get a tax compliant certificate to do business with the government of that magnitude? We need to call on the Auditor General. Some things need to start talk now, head boy. Time come for a new direction. The bamboozling of the Jamaican people must stop. When George Davis come out and disrespect PJ Patterson and call him the murder prime minister, when the figure will tell you that the most people in Jamaica get murdered under Andrew Holness after he promised us that we would be able to sleep with our doors and windows open. Time come.
This is my last point as I go, Colin.
Talk to me.
Let us remember Operation Pride. In your part of the neck of the woods in Portland, the last housing development that was done in Portland, Western, I can speak of particularly, was done under Jigs Ennis
At what
through
beer?
Operation Pride. Yes? Through Operation Pride. I want to say that this JLP government has promised 70 houses when they came to office. And to this day, they have not built 14,000 under NHT. If you go up on NHT website, they have project, for example, one in Western St. Mary called Galena to do 300 units.
Yeah.
Right? They said the completion date is 2026. But they have not even broken ground down there for anything yet.
Little more, red boy.
Little more, my friend.
804-7072. Good evening.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I have a few things to say about George Davis commenting. I don't have much to say, but I like to give my few contribution.
Once it clean and we not defame nobody. Go ahead.
No disrespect. I'm just gonna speak historical reference. No, we are not. No.
Go ahead.
Okay. Remember it with PJ Patterson and Edward Seaga campaign in the last election that PJ won against Edward Seaga?
Yeah, man, may I listen to you?
Do you remember Edward Seaga's statement that he made in the election? Because I was a child growing up at that time, but I can recall clearly.
Which make the statement because I don't know which election you're talking.
If him lose the election, he will not lose the war.
That was not against PJ Patterson. That was, I think that was 1980. I think a 1980 election that. Way down the road.
That's what I'm saying. All of this violence then that we are having in Jamaica, it all started from in that region of time.
Yeah, man, in the 70s coming up in the 80s. PJ Patterson put a stop to political violence in Jamaica. Tell George Davis that.
When Edward Seaga called PJ Patterson Black Scandal back, that is when the people of Jamaica decided to done with Edward Seaga. PJ Patterson never win Jamaica for 18 years. The people of Jamaica decide Edward Seaga will never be the leader of Jamaica again for the next time he is there.
But you see, when George Davis had to disrespect the people of Jamaica, you know. The people of Jamaica voted for PJ Patterson more times than they have ever voted for anybody else. Yeah? The longest serving prime minister.
It was the decision of PJ. It was the decision of PJ for the people to vote for him. The people take that decision, make that decision and take that stance against Seaga because of his remarks, and the older heads of people understand what was going on in Jamaica at that time.
Of course.
Growing up in the countryside, where I grew up in the countryside in St. Ann, to be specific, Jayaba Mountain.
Yeah.
Early on, that man from Claremont who was speaking.
Yeah.
We are close by.
All right, sir. All right.
And you see, Jamaica did have one of the most vibrant industry operating in Jamaica during that period of time, and it was in our community. And it was the ganja industry.
Yeah.
Edward Seaga destroyed the ganja industry and destroyed.
You remember Coptic?
Economic. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. You know what I'll go on then. All right, my brother. Enough respect.
Yes, brother. Give thanks to the correction. And regardless of who the crime rate started, it started with the JLP, but I'll still stand manfully and take my correction, sir.
All right, sir. Respect. Hello, good evening. Turn off the instrument in the background for me, please. Go ahead. 804-7072. Yes, man.
Yeah, night. I want you to listen to your program from me. All I have to say is this, Colin, is PJ is the greatest prime minister ever seen in Jamaica. Nobody will be PJ.
No, PJ.
And if you look at the man's track record, he can speak itself.
Yeah.
And if you look from education, from looking up, ask George Davis which high school Andrew Warren is built in Jamaica.
Break up.
Just ask him which high school Andrew Warren is built in Andrew Warren is built in Jamaica.
Let me tell you something. I see a man around here beat up him chest in a Portland here. He has been the member of parliament for West Portland for 18 years. And if you add him wife 5 years to it, at 23 years them there. And them, the only house where them build a poor relief house, indigent house. They have not built any housing scheme or any houses for any middle class or young people. They have not cut up any lands around here because they want all of the land them for themselves. And I hope the people of Portland open them eyes. I hear him say the murders in Portland are caused by people who are coming here. Remember Darrell Vaz say, come here too. So when the police them are flush out, them need to flush out you and your wife too. Can't not come from here. So when you talk about how much of them people, the question I want to ask him, how much of them people will come here, him carry them come here and left them here far away? How much of them who no care come here? How much of them strange people who no care come here? Where I make trouble? That's a question.
Colin,
talk to me.
Colin.
Yes, sir.
Colin, when that man got talk about the honorable PJ Party, and that man declared his asset to the Integrity Commission before that thing there.
Without it was required of him.
Of him. I'm for sure the level of leadership that man have in him. There's no comparison to them two men in the leadership.
There's no comparison, brother.
That man does so much for Jamaica people.
You're the man say?
NHF.
The man say I'm going there with 5 accounts and come out with 5.
All right.
No, we have a man who maybe going there with 1 or 2 and have 28 now. What kind of prime minister you can have a hustle and a juggle while him a prime minister? No go so. No go so.
Can't go so, Colin. None can't go so.
You must get preferential treatment. You are going to get preferential treatment. And it said the Bible says you must shun the very appearance of evil.
All right, Colin. See you, Mr. Colin.
So when a man will go up on stage, hold on. When a man will go up on stage and talk about him have a problem because Mark Golding not produce him citizenship. Say him renounce him citizenship. It is legal to be a citizen of the UK and a citizen of Jamaica and become prime minister. Darrell Vaz, it is illegal to be a citizen of the United States of America and sit in the parliament. You, Darrell Vaz, try circumvent the law of Jamaica, running an election illegally. You running an election illegally is not compared to a Mark Golding. Talk to me.
Because even the said argument, the terror land, when I talk about Portmore was built by Edward Thiago.
He said Portmore was the vision.
That man should come back and apologize to the world public. You know, you can't go to traffic light.
And that's why we're putting it up. I mean, I just call upon Turlang because if Damien tell lie, him need to apologize. But right now, I am confident that Orlando Turlang is lying. And Rasta too. If you are tell lie, you must apologize. And I am going to call my parliamentarian friends and tell them to call on him in the parliament to apologize to the people of Jamaica. It must stop. But this is a battle.
I do my research, you know. And what my research said, you know, is the same thing what Damon Crawford is saying. You see the research that tell me, you know.
All right, my brother. Big up yourself and thanks for the call.
All right.
804-7072. We're taking the calls. We're setting the record straight. We're setting the record straight. Somebody call George Davis and tell him he's wanted by the court of Portland Spice TV. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Bell. Evening.
Blessings.
Yes, me born 1969.
Hallelujah.
And during the 80s, I was a child, but me have sense.
Yeah.
And I will live down a Greenwich farm. And them burn we out. Let me tell you, burn we out. My mother do domestic work. We just left sitting here with Gratton because my grandfather died in 1978. And my mother can take me back from country and say we have this farm. And during the election, them burn me out at Greenwich farm. down on 7th Street and a Porsche Simpson bike take me up and carry up a Whitfield Avenue, 4 Whitfield Avenue, Kingston 13. And when them are talk about violence, Tiaga said him now win the election by the ballot him win it by the bullet. Right? After we left this, we go back a Bagwalk, go live mother fair, run up and down with me. And we got school, Tolo school at Bagwalk. And we got school, it was in November.
Yeah.
And then say, we have a new prime minister. That time we couldn't get no food, Colin. That time Portland, Tony training around from Portland. And he left it, banana coach, them a Bagwalk. We have to lick them off and banana them when them are ripe. We have to boil them. And every day when election run and then win, we go to school, Mr. Williams was the principal. He said we have a new prime minister and telling me here, da da da. And by the time school's over, we go a market shop at Bagwalk, St. Catherine, and they have a flower there. And we run, they go look some of the flower, one man to put me upon his head, upon his neck.
Caller.
And when they get the flower have been warm milk,
Caller.
The flower.
Caller.
Right?
I tell people all the while, that reason, you see that argument where you drop right here, so? That is why I could never support the Jamaica Labour Party.
Could never.
I used to live at Shrewsbury. Hold on. I'm going to tell you something. I used to live in Shrewsbury as a little boy. And you have a gully around one place named Chris Corner. And after the election around, they then come dash with the mackerel, where them a hide. Chris Corner stink for months. Round they stink. Because them dash with the mackerel, then with a hide from the people. They lock off the food from the people. And you remember when them say stand firm and eat worm?
Yes, have mercy, Percy.
All right. All right.
I remember after 1988, after Gilbert, Sons didn't come at Jamaica. The people get here and then dumping things. You remember that?
Boy.
You remember then the history?
Then it carry some.
Remember that?
Then it carry some come at Shrewsbury for sell. Yes, then I remember.
I hope the Jamaican people remember.
Then carry some come at Shrewsbury for sell. Yes, no, never sell though. All right, caller.
Hold on next, 1 little minute.
Yeah.
May I listen to the budget debate this evening?
Lord have mercy.
And what I know, the last part where everybody jump up, Christmas, said they're going to raise a threshold. But here the trick in the threshold. Next year, the other year to come. No. We want to tell Andrew Wallace and many of them, say, guess what? People wake up. People have sense.
Yes.
If you are going to do something, you just do it or you don't. You just lie. We just call election, sir. Please, may I beg you. Just call election, brother. Just sit some up.
All right.
Down back a class.
All right. All right. I listen to Faval and I tell you something, people. Me no listen to them something and drop asleep. I start drop asleep with Faval. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Shaq. Wagwan.
Medea, man. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. Blessing. Yeah, man. Me have a question. Is it illegal to film police in Jamaica?
No.
During them course of them duties?
No, it's not illegal to film them. You have to stand off at a distance so you don't interfere with them and them work. But it is legal. It is legal for you to record.
A lot of, police officers confiscate people camera and them phone and them thing there when if them record them. I mean, I say, me not think say that's illegal. You know what I mean? I mean, not hear no higher authorities like the police or the government come out and address them something there because the citizen not supposed to have some form of right or some form of
it is
protection.
Legal. It is legal to video them doing their duty from a safe distance. I don't know if you saw the video the other day where the policeman come and say, "Step back." You see, right here, sir, is mine. Step back, take for yourself. What the police
Yeah,
did.
what the police video there, but
what the
hold on. Other videos yeah, go ahead.
What the police did was clear the distance that the man's supposed to be, because I don't remember the distance, but you have a distance where you're supposed to give them some space to do them work. But it is totally legal to video the police while conducting their duty.
Yes, so what I'm saying is I've seen a couple of instances where the police confiscate people phone and people device where they might use record them.
That is wrong.
What I say is, what I'm saying is, I think somebody, either from the police federation or the police authorities or in the or somebody should have come out and speak on this, or the government, them should have really, address this. You know what I mean? Because I'm saying it's like it's been a trend. Somebody needs to come out and draw the line and make them know, say, well, the citizens have them right to be able to do that. Because it's the police officers are confiscate people phone and people, recording device and them thing there.
All right, my brother. That not right.
And as me say, for the protection of both the citizens, because the police them now wear body cam, right? The police them now wear body cam.
The government not interested in them wearing it. The government is not interested in the police wearing body cam.
Somebody need to come out, because when I say, Colin, it might escalate to something where, you know what I mean, where nobody really want to happen, and to where the trend when I say happen. So somebody really need to come out and address it.
All right, my brother. Enough respect. We talk again.
Yeah, man. Blessing.
Yeah, man. I hear Faval Williams announced in the budget a while ago. You know, remember at conference, Andrew Olney said I give everybody $20,000 who now work. Well, that is in the budget. Now, them say them now run with it. But when you are going to take up $20,000 and give it in an election year, what is that called? A calling on the government to come explain it to me, because I have a problem with the first $20,000. You have scandal, you have corruption, and this Labour Party now bringing a squander. So now you have corruption, scandal, and squander. The government of Jamaica squander $11.4 billion. That is about 70 million US dollars. A lot of things we are talking about in this country that not happening. And I want to leave you with this evening. What $11 billion could have done to agriculture to step up our food security? 1. 2. What $11 billion could have done in developing a solar farm to cut our electricity bill? That's 2. And 3, how far $11 billion could have taken the culture and the creative industry to start earn well-needed foreign exchange for Jamaica? This Labour Party involving scandal, corruption, and no squander. This is the first government that have been squandering the people's money. No other administration in Jamaica has had the space and the amount of money to spend like this government. They have spent the most money in healthcare, and we have the worst healthcare. They have spent the most money in education, and education get worse. They have spent the most money in security, and we have the most murders in Jamaica. What kind of government is this? Time come. No more corruption. No more scandal, and no more squander, Andrea. In a time where the country is in a recession, and the government is trying to change the definition. Dr. Andre Arton said Sunday at the forum over Kenride Pier, him said the government is in a war with the Oxford Dictionary. What can go so? The government is trying to create its own definition of what is a recession. Now the government is trying to create their own definition on who is the murder prime minister. tell them that we have done the figures, George Davis. And more people have been murdered under Andrew Holness in a shorter time than PJ Patterson. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Dr. Russell for being my guest this evening. Thanks to all the callers, all the people in the chat room. I realize we're not ready for done yet, but we are back tomorrow evening from 5 o'clock. Please join us as we give you more on the Colin Bell Show, where we speak the truth and only the truth. May the good Lord continue to bless and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his light and give you his peace. Until we meet again tomorrow evening, Colin Bell saying bless up.